Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 25-Minute Writing Life. I am Sophfronia Scott. I am the director of the Alma College MFA in Creative Writing, and we are holding this virtual open house for you to help you think about how do you fit this MFA business into a real life world. The Alma MFA is a low residency program. What does that mean? It means that you don't have to leave a job, you don't have to move. It's a program where you are in person only twice a year. For us, that's in January and August for about 10 days for an intensive time of lectures, readings. You'll be in workshop classrooms reading your work, having the work of your classmates read and receiving feedback. And then, of course, uh, you get your faculty advisor and you collaborate on a reading list and a schedule of writing packets, your assignments, and then you go off into an independent study, which is the rest of your semester, submitting that work every 3 to 4 weeks with your faculty advisor. Now, most people wonder, can I really do it? Because it's a lot of work. I think we estimate on the website, we say it takes about 25 hours perhaps a week to do the work that you need to do to submit for the program. Now, we decided that it might be helpful for you to hear from some of our current students to find out exactly how it does get done. So today I have with us Claire Whitleaf, who is entering, did I pronounce that correctly, Claire?
Whitliff?
Whitleaf, sorry,
Yes.
uh,
Oh, that's
who
okay.
is
Thanks.
entering her third term, correct?
Yes.
In the program, and we have Lori Phillips, who actually just graduated last month, completing her fifth residency. So congratulations, Lori. So they're both at different places in the program, but they both have very full lives outside of the program. So let's start with that. Let's start with Claire. Claire, what do you do when you are not being a writer?
Yes. So my full-time job is I'm an academic advisor at a small community college. Um, I oversee students, mostly just, one-on-one student meetings. And so it's interesting working with students, but also being a student myself in this program. So yeah, that's what I do mainly.
Okay. And
Yeah.
Lori, what is your position?
Yeah, so I've actually worked professionally as a writer and a copy editor for almost 30 years. Um, but I've also helped teach kids grades 12 and all the way down to kindergarten, most recently in second grade, which took up quite a bit of my time. It was about 70 to 80 hours a week, planning and everything that goes into that. So, and also sometimes I work as a tutor in the evenings.
And Lori, don't you still have children at home?
Well, I have three kids. They're young adults. They're kind of breaking out of the nest and sometimes coming back home. So
So
they're
they're
in and out
taking
of
up
the nest.
they're taking up your brain space
Oh,
too.
they definitely are. They definitely are.
Okay. So when you both entered the program, uh, was it a concern of yours as to how you're going to get the work done? And what decisions did you make or what changes did you make to make it happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say it was a concern too, especially working, like a typical 40-hour work week. Um, I really just had to schedule time for writing in my normal day today, whether that's just evenings. Sometimes if I have a break in my calendar at work even, I'll try to dive into something a little bit. And then it also goes along with the assigned reading too, because we will have, books that you'll read throughout your term, as part of your independent study. And so making time for that as well. But I think that's probably been the most useful in terms of time management is using those chunks in my schedule to contribute to my homework.
So breaking it up in that way. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm glad you addressed the reading because I remember when I was an MFA student that is a particular challenge. But at the same time, it's like the the reading feeds the writing, so it has to
Yes.
happen. So,
Mhm.
but I think I found like you, that you can find those little in-between moments to read. Like always having a book with me, for example, really helped. What about you, Lori?
Yeah, so I think it was August or September of 2024 when I first applied to the program, and I admit I was very nervous at the time because at the time I was working as a substitute teacher during the day and a tutor in the evenings. And I was just thinking, I have so many other things going on. How am I going to successfully add yet another big dump of things onto my list of obligations? But ultimately, I just decided to take a leap of faith. Um, and it started out with like one little choice that I made that I think was really helpful. Um, I actually started out by making a vision board with my MFA goal on it. And I put that in a place that I would see every single day, like, if not all day, but I would see it every day to remind me kind of like what was the big goal that I was working toward. Um, and it might sound like a trivial thing, but it was really a big thing to have that like be in my face all the time. And
Mhm.
then I kind of adopted like a mental paradigm shift because I told myself, and importantly, everybody else around me too, that my reading and my creative writing were necessary, not optional. Um, and I remember one of the things I had on my vision board too was a quote by a fly fisherman. I think his name is David Coggins, and he's a very successful fly fisherman. But
Mhm.
one of the things that he said was perhaps the most important thing, or the most important skill, is really a habit. And that habit is getting on the water. So for him, being a fisherman, like if you want to catch fish, you got to get on the water. If you're a writer, for us, that typically means you got to sit your butt in a chair. But sometimes I found in this program, like for me, it was actually like I wasn't sitting my butt in a chair always, but sometimes I was scribbling down notes while I'm frying an egg
Mhm.
or reading a few more pages while I'm at the ice rink waiting for the hockey game to start or, things like that. And I think too, Amelia Earhart said once, the most effective way to do it is to just do it, or it was something like that.
Yeah.
Um, so I think, with our days, like we're always making choices. And we have to decide what's important to us, what's the most important thing in that moment. Um, and so, if you decide that, well, I used to decide, well, it's not really important that the dishes get washed right now. I can do my reading or my writing, the dishes will be there later, or somebody else can do
Mhm.
the dishes.
Mhm.
So I just tried to squeeze in the reading and writing in between everything else.
Yeah, I remember I made a similar decision. My son was, I think, 7 when I started as an MFA student, and I became very aware of what I was doing when he was in school and when my husband was he was a teacher, so when they were both at school and then
Mhm.
when they were home. So I decided if I found myself doing something like laundry while they were gone, I had to stop myself saying, no, I can do this when they get home. I need to be writing. So just being conscious of that all the time.
Mhm.
Lori, I wish had thought to bring it until you mentioned it. One of my favorite photos of us from our Venice residency is of you sitting down writing in the middle of this gorgeous cathedral.
Oh.
It's like there's Lori taking every moment to write, and I just loved it.
Mhm, mhm.
Talking, walking your talk, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah. I think you just gotta make everything of the moment, whatever that moment is. Because sometimes I would find myself like my husband and I travel a lot, and we travel to go watch our kids play their games or whatever. And so a lot of times, like if my husband was driving and I would tuck myself in the back of the minivan with my computer, and people were all talking in the van, but I would put on my headphones and just tune them all out. So
Oh,
that's how like sometimes you can squeeze it in that way, like whatever works for you.
yeah, yeah. Claire, what about you?
Yeah, same for me here, whenever you can. And I kind of, Lori made me think of something. It's not even necessarily a physical act of writing, but
Hmm.
whenever I'm just moving about my day, I feel like I'm always mentally writing in some way. Um,
Mm.
right? It could just be from observing. It could just be, a word or, anything like that. I feel like I'm constantly writing, even when I'm laying at bed at night and I'm just like, I'm thinking about different things. It's like, oh, that's something there. That's an idea. That's, a
Yeah.
word. That's a snippet of something that I can use later.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, I absolutely think that true. Sorry, Sophronia.
no, I was just I just wanted to put in there that I think that's one of the benefits of being in a program like this is that it puts writing in the front of your mind and you get
Mhm.
into the habit of thinking or the habit of art, as Flannery
Yeah.
O'Connor called it. So go ahead, Lori.
Mhm. Yeah, I was just going to add on to what Claire said, which I think is a really important part of the writing is to think about the writing when you're not actually sitting down writing,
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
I did that a lot, and I think that that was an important thing for my process to be
Mm.
like walking the dog and thinking about what I could write about later, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
mhm.
Lori, because you put up that vision board and you really made this commitment. If you don't mind my asking, why why was it so important for you to get the MFA?
It was okay. So I actually wanted to. It was a goal of mine to get an MFA way back when. But I think, let's see, how old would I have been? I would have probably been in my late 20s, early 30s when I first thought that I wanted to do it. And my husband got his degree at the same time, but he got like an MBA. And this is just what we were going to do. We were both going to get our master's degrees. Um, but I think at the time, I maybe wanted it for a different reason. And I feel like maybe at that time it would have been more of a almost like a status thing, or I thought maybe it was going to promote me in a different way or something. But as I got older and obviously didn't apply until much later in my life, the reason became more clear. And the reason why I wanted to join the MFA program is because I saw it as gaining a sense of community,
Mm,
um, that I didn't the kind of community I didn't have already, because I was already working as a writer, a different kind of writer, not so much I not the traditional creative nonfiction type of
mhm,
thing.
mhm,
I was doing boring automotive stuff as far as I'm concerned, but I really wanted the sense of community, and I've really found it with the Alma MFA. I mean, I think people like Claire and all the other students and the staff that are in the program. I think they're a really special group of people, um, and I just feel like I wouldn't have advanced so much if I didn't have the huge support
mhm,
of everybody that's been part of the program.
mhm. I know that again, coming from my own MFA journey, it was about the community as well, because I
Mhm.
had fallen into this entrepreneurial life where I was writing everything but my own writing.
Mhm.
And like you, there was a point where I said, I was in a room full of entrepreneurs and I said, I have to get out of here, that I'm supposed to be in a room full of writers and this has to stop. And and for me, yeah, the going into an MFA put me into not just a room full of writers, but the writers who are on the same journey as or a similar journey, right? Who cared about the work in a certain way and were striving to write at a certain level. So yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Definitely.
What about you, Claire? What's it mean for you to be in the program?
Yeah. So, the first year of my undergrad, I went to Alma for my undergraduate program, and the first year that I started at Alma was actually this MFA program's first year. So we kind of grew together, in a way. And ever since, this program was founded, I was like, that's what I'm going to do. Like there was no question. I felt like I just felt at home with it and the idea of it. And I was just thinking back to our last residency that we had. I was in my fiction workshop with our faculty, Kirk Walsh and Shonda Buchanan, and they gave us a prompt where they told us to write our writing manifestos, like how we had gotten into writing in our lives and all that stuff. It was a really cool prompt. But anyway, at one point I had written the line, "It was never a matter of if, but when." And I think that that really sums it up with this program. It was never a matter of if I was going to do it. It was a matter of when I was going to do it.
Hmm. And you all should know that Claire, what were you an editor for the Almanian?
Yes, yep.
Right? So Claire was an editor for the school, the college's newspaper, and you interviewed me
I
for the
did.
paper. So,
Yeah.
so you really did know all about it, like from the ground up.
Yeah, I was fangirling. I was like, how can I get into her office? Give me the
Oh,
story.
the truth comes out.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was an exciting time, and to see the growth of the program from then to now, and and making new announcements all the time. So if the people on the call didn't know or hadn't heard, we recently had a donor come forward to donate money for scholarships to help our students attend the residencies, especially our travel residencies. So those are our first scholarships outside of the Refer a Writer Scholarship, which used to be our only scholarship. We also have a merit scholarship now, which will be awarded every year, named for Jim Daniels, one of our esteemed faculty, and also a Alma College undergraduate alum. So we're excited that others are excited about the program and willing to support us in this way, knowing the difference that we're making with our students. So I'm going to open it up for questions. So you can ask me questions, you can ask Claire, Lori, anything having to do with the program or just how to fit this work into your life.
Hi, I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah, is that Renee?
Hi, it's Renee
Hi.
from
Yeah,
Minneapolis. Hello,
yeah.
everybody. And thank you. It was really interesting listening to Lori and Claire. I'm still working too. However, I'm close to retirement. But the residency, so January and August, are they 10 days each time or are
Yes.
they, oh,
Well,
they're okay.
when we go to Europe, sometimes that's more like 8 or 9, depending on the itinerary that the travel companies put together for us.
hmm But so it's okay. And then do you give us like housing choices? Do we stay on campus or what's the housing
It
thing?
depends on the time of year. So last year, sorry, last month, this was just last month. Last month we were on the Alma campus, but this was the first time that we'd done a residency while the undergraduates were in session. So we couldn't stay in the usual dorm housing. We were in hotels in downtown Alma, which I think may have spoiled people because these were really beautiful hotels. So, but next August when we are back on the Alma campus. So when I say dorms, we're actually going to be in what's called the Opera House. So that is apartment style housing. It's the upper level housing that they give to seniors with a certain GPA. So these apartments have beautiful kitchens. They have their own bathrooms within and everyone has their own bedroom within the suite. So it's a really beautiful place. When we are traveling, we tend to
Mhm.
be in together in a hotel, or we were just at the University of Oxford in England, so we were in their dorm housing, which again was really nice.
When do you do international residencies? Every year or every other year or?
Like every other year, um, but sometimes it works out. For example, the University of Oxford, we've been trying to do that residency for a long time, and it was put off because of COVID, and then Oxford wasn't letting outside groups onto the campus for a while, and the first dates that they gave us was August. So we usually prefer to travel in the winter and not August, but those were the dates they gave us. So, um, so that was 2025, so this past year. The next travel will be Venice. We'll be going back to Venice in January of 2027.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So depending on when you come into the program, you might do one or two international travel residencies. Sometimes we travel uh, domestically. So, for example, we had a residency in North Carolina where we visited Asheville and went to the Biltmore. We were going to go to Thomas Wolfe's house, but that was right after the hurricane and it was closed due to some damage. But the idea is to try to find someplace warmer than Michigan in January. So,
Yeah, I
right.
can feel, yeah, we got 8 inches of snow yesterday, so
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, thank you.
So yeah, so looking for places that are interesting and inspiring, but sometimes coming home to our Alma campus because our students also love being on campus. This coming summer, we will be on the Alma campus, and it will be the anniversary of our first residency, the fifth anniversary. So that's going to be a celebratory time. We're going to have a party. There'll be alumni back with us. So as you can imagine, people are really attached to the program, and it's exciting when we get together every 6 months.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. Yes, Lori. What else?
Can you tell us, so, and this is my fault because I haven't researched enough.
Mhm.
What is the requirement for admissions? Do we take a GRE or anything? And then do we submit, and do we have references or a paper to write? Or can
Okay,
you just
so
kind of,
yeah, no problem. No GRE. You have two letters of reference. There are a couple of things you need to write. So first, there is your writing sample, and that will be in whatever genre you would like to study. So if you're doing fiction or nonfiction, that would be about 25 pages. If you're doing poetry, I believe it's the count is about 10 to 15 poems. Then you have a literature essay, which is simply you writing about what you enjoy reading. You know, what writers do you admire? Um, how they connect with what you like to write. Then there's a personal essay that basically talks about your hopes and goals for being in the program. Why are you interested in this program? What do you hope to get out of the program? And I think that is, oh, and transcripts. We need your undergraduate transcripts.
sure. Okay, thank
And
you.
once all of that is submitted, it goes through, an admissions process. A faculty person will read your work. I will read your work. There's a grad council, and then we eventually come to a decision. And we try to do it quickly. It's usually done within 2 weeks or so, depending on the reader's availability.
How big are the residents? Like how many people do you accept every year, or every semester?
We do accept people every semester, but more people tend to start in the fall than in the winter. So we could have anywhere from 5 to 10 starting each fall, and
Oh,
anywhere from 15 to 20 students in a residency. I think the largest we've had is close to 25. So, and everybody goes to lectures together. So you will be in lectures with, you'll hear lectures on fiction, nonfiction, and poetry. But when you do workshop, you are divided by genre, unless it's a specialty workshop. And there are 6 workshops per residency. And again, that's where you do writing prompts like Claire mentioned. You submit work for the workshop, and you'll be critiquing the work of your classmates and hearing feedback on your work as well.
thank you.
Yeah. Rosa, I know you had your hand up.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Forgive me. I'm suffering with a really bad cold. So
Oh, it's
I have
okay.
2 things that I want to keep brief. So,
Yeah.
and thank you, Sophronia. You've been at it since I met you, lady. You are doing it. You are doing it. Okay, here's an update. I had mentioned before I didn't think my submission was strong enough, my portfolio, and it needed more recent print because I had been I'm a
Yeah.
multi-journalist, and my stuff of late was more video and audio. So I want to do nonfiction, journalism. So I'm trying to get some recent article articles work that oh my God, the psyche of the times is so crazy. I'm going to Detroit Saturday to do a story on the bridges, the two, the
Yeah.
Ambassador Bridge and the Gordie Howell Bridge. They probably won't get open until next year. Who knows? There's a lot going on. And by the way, that part of town is where Mexican town is. You know, the
Mhm.
on-ramps to the bridges are in Southeast Michigan. Yeah, Southeast Michigan, Detroit area. So I need some stronger, more recent stuff. And with the anti-immigrant, the all the world falling apart at the same time, uh, little stories within that chaos that come from where I want to write from.
Yeah.
I got to do it, but it ain't easy like all of the students and alum have said, but thank you because you've given me more strength right now. Hearing your busy schedules, you are mothers, you are working full time, you're doing it all. I do have two sick elderly, 90, 90 and 94, and they're both ailing. So I'm caregiving with their, so just, I sound crazy because I am, okay? That's one item, the update. I had
Yeah.
wanted to submit soon. Yeah,
But
apply.
let me tell you one thing, Rosa. Um, it doesn't have to be published, right? The work that you submit for your application does not have to be published. So you could be writing your thoughts on what's going on and just, write an essay. It doesn't have to be published.
Okay,
Okay.
but I still need to write the current heavy
Yeah.
duty. Not so I'm glad it doesn't have to be published because
Yeah. Yeah.
that eliminates one little check off my list.
Yeah. That's what I thought. Yeah.
Thank you for
Okay.
that. Now,
Okay.
the other
So,
thing in terms of your overseas abroad, trips for the program, have you ever considered, I'm going to whisper because I talk too loud, San Miguel de Allende in Mexico? San Miguel de Allende is a great writer's hub, has been for quite a while. It's known as a touristy cultural place, but they have an annual writers conference that draws people from all over the world. And I wish I could afford it, but I can't. But I'm throwing that into your mix because people still are traveling to Mexico, I will have you know. And I mean, it's not as crowded as Venice, perhaps. Maybe not as expensive as Venice. I don't know. But, there's so many places that I think if we can help you, Sophronia, find locations. Another, for a short-term kind of visit, I would love for you guys to come to the Theodore Roethke Museum and House here in Saginaw. Theodore Roethke is the only Pulitzer Prize winning poet Michigan has, and he was born here in Saginaw. He taught at U of M, he taught in Washington State. He's a lovely poet. He's a white guy poet from the old days, but I love his poetry because he's like a Taurus. He loved plants. He was into earth, the environment, and really granular, kind of beautiful words and expressions. And it's here in Saginaw, you guys, and they hold writers events here too. So just so you know, and oh, there's a website, friendsoftheodoreroethke.org. Friendsoftheodoreroethke.org. I think it's a beautiful website, by the way. And last year they had a wonderful weekend of poetry, which I attended,
mhm.
and it was lovely. It was held at the Montague Inn in Saginaw, which is a beautiful um, lumber baron mansion from the 1800s. So anyway, uh, thank you for what you do. Give me strength. God, give me life. I'm getting old. That's the other, I'm my age, because we age out of things, even though we're vital seniors, at some point we become gerontological studies for medical science. And you know what I'm saying? Hey, that's a good story idea.
Yeah.
I like it. You know what? It would be a satire, humorous, light, but I could hit heavy duty areas like Alzheimer's, losing your spouse, living alone. Oh my God. Yeah. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Um, you just,
But I know
but
this is how it happens,
that's,
writers.
yeah,
This is how it
this is how it
happens.
happens. The ideas
It
come.
bursts out of, I don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
And I will be quiet now. Thank you. Thank you.
Um, I was looking for the email. It didn't come up right away. Matthew Gavin Frank, who is on our faculty, a while ago connected me with someone who might be connected to the conference you're talking about, with the same idea of us, somehow doing a residency in Mexico. So, so I just need to go back and follow that through,
Yeah.
and see if it fits in timing wise for us and how it would work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
thank you for bringing that back to front
Yeah.
of mind.
I think the conference is in the summer. So, I know you like to
Well,
go.
we wouldn't go during the summer, so it
Oh,
would be
okay.
during the winter that we would go.
Okay. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, check it out for what it's worth.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Ivy, you have a question?
Hi, yes. I wanted to know about the program when we're home. I'm not sure if you talked about that before I hopped on, but so so the residency, we're all together, everything is pretty structured. How does the program work while we're home?
So while you're still at residency, you're paired with your faculty advisor, and you've chosen your advisor. So you've interviewed faculty and submitted your top three preferences. And during residency, you get paired with the person. And before you even leave residency, you will have collaborated with that person on a reading list and a deadline schedule of when you will submit work to that person, both critical and creative work. So you go home and you start executing that study plan. Now, depending on the advisor that you're working with, they touch base with their students in different ways and at different times. You will definitely have a midterm conversation with that person. Um, and now Claire and Lori will have to speak to this, but I believe the students on their own have some way of being in contact with each other between residencies. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, Claire.
Um, were you talking about like students as a group or us with our mentors?
As a group.
Yeah, yeah. So we usually will text each other, email each other, anything that goes like that. I know we have a gathering that's even coming up this weekend. We're just gonna check in and see how each other's doing. Because I think about this time we would have turned in our first packet. So yeah.
And and we encourage the bonding of the students. So the very first and last meetings of the residency are student-only meetings. So the first is to, welcome people who are new and just, getting to know each other. And the last meeting is a life after residency that plans exactly this, how you're going to stay in touch, what happens next for people who are new, who are, finished with that first residency and kind of bewildered. So it's about encouraging each other, like, okay, here we go.
Yeah, I would add to that like so when we were at residency, we usually all the students will trade phone information. So we have everybody's like mobile number, and then we send like even when we're in residency, we'll send text to each other, keep everybody in the loop. Everybody. It's a very, very close group, I think. And then when everybody goes home, then like what I used to do is like I would still text other students periodically and just say, hey, what's up? How's it going? How's your packet coming? And then it's useful because then, you can cheer each other on. You can kind of commiserate if you're having a hard time or if you don't understand something, you can say, hey, well, how did you handle this? And it's just, I think as a group really rely on each other a lot. I mean, it's kind of it's going to be like what you make of it. I mean, you can choose to like kind of like go off on your own, but like I highly recommend just like stay in touch with people and check in.
Yeah, it's great. And it's just nice to have connections with other writers. Like
Mhm.
today, I just sent Selena and Alyssa a meme about Sylvia Plath. Nobody else would get that, but but they loved it. And but even just like being in the third term too, I'm kind of in an interesting spot because I'm working on my critical thesis right now. And so I even sent like my thesis statement to a couple people and said like, does this sound okay? Just to get a second pair of eyes on it, which is
Mhm.
great, especially because, if you're working with those same people, they can kind of help you. They can kind of see it to fruition with you and when you like eventually go to present it. So it's cool.
I found the photo. I'm going to share it. There it is. In San Giorgio Maggiore, Lori writing,
That
and
was,
there's
yeah.
Josh in the background too. You see him on the right there.
Yeah, our coats almost
That should
match.
be on our homepage.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So it's funny that you mentioned coats and matching. Wait, let me find this image to show you. And I don't think I've shown this to anybody else. Let's see if I can find it. There
I
is
think you've got your Oxford jacket on, don't you, Sophronia? Are these your
actually,
Oxford
I
University?
I just actually I do. I just happen to be wearing this today. I love this jacket. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
I'm
awesome.
wearing my Oxford jacket. So yeah, let me find this other photo. But Claire, can you talk about like don't you guys have um like a WhatsApp group or a Slack or something like that?
So we did have a Slack. I know the first term that I came in, but as our groups kind of evolved and people have graduated, we just went over to like group chat and texting.
Hmm.
I know when we were overseas, it was easier to do like a WhatsApp. In one way or another, we do try to find something where we can reach everybody at once if needed. So,
Okay.
we also have a Facebook group too that Gretchen just created. So,
Okay.
was it
So
Gretchen or was it Lori? Lori, was it you?
We work together. We're working on
Okay.
it together. Mhm.
Okay. Yeah.
okay, so you were talking about coats. Um, I just had these made for
Oh,
so
Oh my gosh.
so these are for Venice for next year, and I was ordering them for faculty and for the travel team. But it occurred to me I should show these to the students because I know that you guys will probably want to order your own as well.
Yes.
So
yeah.
these are actually team coats that the athletics teams wear. And I saw them while we were at residency last month. I saw students running around in these. And then I saw, there's another graduate program at Alma. It's for special education for teachers. And she had one of these coats on with the logo. And I was like, wait a minute, where did you get that coat? And she's like, well, you can order them like the teams do. And I was like, okay, this is getting these
Yeah.
coats for Venice right now. And I ordered them, even though the residency's a year away. I'm just getting these coats.
I
I
love
think,
them. They
Okay.
look
yeah.
very Olympian.
I know, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly it. They're Adidas and they're really warm. They're parkas, actually. They're parkas. So they're warm and weatherproof and they have a hood. And so yeah. So think about that. Or, I'll let the students know and we get them at a deep discount because it's a team order. So
Mm.
I will let the students know if they want to get their own for next winter.
Yeah.
I have another question.
Lottie's coming. See, it's all about the clothing.
I have another question, maybe for Claire, maybe
Yeah.
Lori, about your thesis. Was it something you were thinking about for a long time that you came into the program thinking, I want this to be my thesis, or is it something that you started, during the program?
For me, the answer is no. I was not thinking about that at all. As a matter of fact, for both the critical thesis and separately for my last year of the thesis. I had no idea coming into the program what I was going to write about at all.
I remember we
Um,
talked about that. We were talking about when your critical thesis time came up.
yeah. So it wasn't until I think it was actually when I was in residency to start the term that I was going to do my critical thesis that we, kind of just started talking about ideas and spitballing it with like a group of people. And then it just, by the time I left the residency, it had narrowed down quite a bit. And then it was kind of like the same thing happened the next term when I had to do my thesis. It was just like, you just start thinking about something that you're kind of passionate about or super interested in, because you have to be super interested in it because you're going to be living it for the next 6 months. So you just find something that you're interested in. I ended up doing my thesis statement about telling truth in like, especially like memoir, when you don't have all the facts, like you can't remember stuff. So that's what I did mine on. And Claire, you're working on your critical thesis this term, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
am. So mine actually didn't come to me until this past residency. I had a couple of ideas that I was thinking about, and then I'm currently working with Karen Bender is my mentor this term, and she's like, let's, start from basics. What's a craft element that you really admire? And kind of think about that and deep diving into that more. And so it wasn't until we were in Kirk's lecture and she had talked about slowing it down and using time and writing and stuff like that. And I said, well, I'm going to do my thesis on pacing. So that's what I'm working on for my thesis, and just kind of how it impacts the reader and stuff like that. So yeah, it's something that you can definitely think about. But don't be surprised if what you initially think it's going to be turns out to be something completely different, because there's the possibility of
Mhm.
that happening too.
Yeah, you don't have to come into the program with an idea for a thesis because that's part of the learning process is
Mhm.
learning about craft, reading writers you've probably never thought to read before, and
Mhm.
something will come to you. It's like, I did not know about that. You might get fascinated by it and you want to explore it more. With a PhD, you do have to know up front because that will be part of your application process is that they are judging your application based on the research that you want to do. So you do have to pretty much know up front in a PhD what that topic is. But it's not like that with a MFA. But that's a good question. Oh, the other thing you should know, Ivy, and all of you, because I know some people come to the program and have not been in an academic situation for years. And we start you off doing short papers, short critical papers, like 2 to 3 pages long, 4 pages long, to get you into the habit of reading critically and writing about craft in that way. We do sessions on it right at the start of residency to get you comfortable with the idea of doing them. And it's part of your packet work, those first two terms. You're doing a couple of critical papers per packet, and that's sort of like your warm up to doing the big paper in your third term. So it's not even something you have to jump into right away.
It's always something too. I just want to add that when you're writing those critical papers and maybe there's an idea that sticks with you, you can easily pull from that first paper, whether it's, an idea, maybe some citations, things like that. Because I'm doing that too. I'm revisiting one of my past critical papers and tying that in. So
A question about the packets. You mentioned that you keep handing them in. Is this like you throughout the semester you're working on it, and at the end you hand in the packet, or or actually, first of all, what is the packet? Let me start there.
Yeah, okay. So the packet is, so here are the makings of the packet. First of all, there is a letter, a pretty long letter that you are writing to your advisor, telling them what you've done, what is in the packet. I've written 10 pages of a short story in which I'm exploring this. I'm working on point of view. I read X number of books. Um, my critical paper in this packet is about X, either because he or she suggested that, or this is something that you wanted to explore. You can tell them about what's been hard. Maybe it's been hard getting to read. Maybe you're having trouble with some aspect of the thing that you've written. Is there something specific that you want them to look at in this packet? So that's the start. There's the letter. There will be that critical paper that will be, like I said, 2 to 4 pages. Then there will be your creative work. So that could be anywhere from 10, 15, 20, 25 pages. You will have arranged that with your advisor in the beginning of how much you're submitting with each packet. But that's what it is. It's a packet of work.
Okay.
And you will submit that. We use a learning management system called Canvas. So when you guys do your study plan, you will have all of those deadlines in the computer. And when you submit your packet, you do it through Canvas. So your advisor will know when it's in, and you will have agreed upon the deadline by which the advisor has to give feedback back to you. I think it's usually like a week. Do they get it back to you in a week or like a week to 10 days, something like that?
Yeah, it depends.
Yeah, so you will see that you get pretty detailed feedback from your advisor. And you can either, and I recommend not waiting to get the feedback back to start reading or doing a critical paper or whatever, like working on that next packet and then considering the feedback when it comes in. But they'll send you pretty detailed feedback. You'll get a long letter from them as well. So that's the back and forth that will happen throughout the term. There'll be a midterm evaluation that you both submit where you're reflecting on how you're doing, if there are any issues, so that they get flagged for me that we can take care of before, while the term is in session. Going all the way to the end of term, and same thing, you submit an end of term evaluation, you get your final grade for that term. You also submit an annotated bibliography of the things that you read that term. And you do that each term, the bibliography, so that you're not stressed with, because you have to submit a complete one for your whole time in the program when you graduate. So if you do it each term in your assignment, then that won't be so onerous to assemble. And those bibliographies are available. We have something called a SharePoint site, which is an inner website that's only accessible to us. And that's where there is a whole archive of bibliographies from students. So if you need ideas for something to read or see what other people have read, it's all there in the system.
Can I add something too to that, Sophronia?
Yeah.
So when you start your term and you go to residency, you get assigned a mentor, and then you have discussions with your mentor, and you tell your mentor, this is what I'm interested in learning about. Like, I'm interested in pursuing, I want to learn more about this, or I'm really interested in this kind of writing, or whatever you want to learn about. Like, you have some choice in where you kind of want the direction to go. And then your mentor will take that information and give you, help you get some reading material that will kind of help you explore or discover those things. And one of the things that I thought was great is that, I would tell my mentors, okay, this is what I'm interested in learning about. And then they would give me book recommendations. And quite often they were books that I probably would have never picked up myself to read, but they were really useful to me in making my writing better one way or another. So, but just keep in mind that at the beginning of the semester, like, you have some choice about where. It's not just like them randomly just saying, okay, read 50 pages of everybody's reading the same thing. Like, we're all reading different things.
Yeah, I will stress it is a collaboration. It is a
Yeah.
collaboration, so you can bring ideas to the table, even with the book list. You can, your advisor can bring books to the table, you bring books to the table, so that it's really a collaboration. It's not just someone telling you what to do.
Mhm.
Yeah. I wanted to add too, just circling back to the annotated bibliographies, what I find to be best and probably easiest practice is when you're going through and you're reading throughout the semester, add as you read, like as you go along. So then that way, when you get to your final packet of the term, that way you're like, okay, everything is here. And it's just one less thing to worry about as you get towards the end. So
Did everybody get that? I know Claire broke up a little bit.
It cut
Can
off a
you,
bit for me.
yeah, so at the very end when you were talking about putting the bibliography together and not waiting, then you froze a little bit, so we didn't get that part. What you said after that.
yes, just putting it together towards the end.
Okay. And not waiting. Yeah. Anything else? Those are good questions, Ivy. Thank you. Okay, well, it looks like we can wrap this up then for this evening. So, Lori, Claire, thank you so much for spending time with us and sharing your story of your MFA process and how you're fitting it in into your lives. Thank you all for joining us. Has been recorded, so people who signed up and couldn't make it will get to view this material as well. So I'm Sophfronia Scott, the director of the Alma College MFA program. Our application season is open. Our deadline is May 30th, and you can find out more and apply by checking out our website, alma.edu/MFA. Thank you for being here tonight, everyone. Good night.
Thank you.